Welcome to the Open Space and Ecology meeting of January 24, 2024. To make a, first we'll do call to order. Michelle? Michelle Salmon?
Here.
Shauna Calmes? Here. Mary Rogers?
Here.
And I'm Erin Becker.
I move
And
we adopt
note
the-
for the record that Noonan and Ebel are absent. They let me know ahead of time. Fieldman, I believe we are still expecting.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
I'm going to go back one. Adrian, I assume we had no requests to attend remotely?
That's correct.
Very good. Okay. Vote?
Aye.
Aye. Aye for Erin.
Aye for Shauna.
Aye for Rogers.
Lovely. Agenda is adopted. Any announcements?
I guess I have one on February 3rd, Saturday, February 3rd. Just in case anybody's listening now, we'll probably say it later. But we have a Habitat Restoration Day. Sign up at mountainwatch.org. It is co-sponsored between Open Space and Ecology / Sustainability, Brisbane Rec Department, and San Bruno Mountain Watch. And it's 9:30 in the morning. We're going to be working up near the Rock Wren and that
Checker
area.
spot,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Up in the Northeast Ridge.
I think I saw in the blast that South San Francisco Scavengers also supporting this one.
Yes. Well, they're sponsoring, but we're,
Yep.
yeah. And then, yeah, that was it. Oh, also, there is an e-waste pickup day that at Jefferson High School.
I was going to mention the same thing.
Yeah.
On the same day?
No, it's on the City Blast, and I posted it on Residents of Brisbane.
Okay,
I
And
think
it's
it's the 27th.
27th, yeah.
okay.
Any oral communication?
We have received none, and it does not look like we have any members of the public joining us.
Very good. Approval of the minutes from last month.
Well, I move we approve the minutes.
I second it.
Vote. Michelle.
Aye.
Shauna.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
And was that Shauna on the second?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
I did have one question. Did we ever get any word back from Teresa on any of those existing questions?
I have lots of notes for my staff updates.
Very good. Thank you. Sorry. Perfect timing. You just did all the formalities. Hopefully you didn't have an issue with the minutes.
Yes, and just let the record note that Glenn Feldman is there.
I think you just did that. Thank you. And so moving on to new business. I think today we're going to discuss our annual work plan.
Okay. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure if there's a way that I can hide all of this stuff at the top of Word, so that we can.
Try the little, okay, never mind.
Is that gonna work? Yes, there we go. How's that? A little better?
Perfect.
So I will just note that basically I took a stab at this and shared it with Karen and Erin, and it's effectively our 2023 work plan with a couple modifications. We removed the dark skies ordinance since that has now been completed, but added an item to our routine and ongoing efforts about assisting with the implementation of that. We updated the language a bit on the REACH codes and the draft invasive species ordinance. And I think the majority of the rest was unchanged from last year. Erin, did you have anything you wanted to add on the kind of summary?
Nothing on the summary. I'll defer my comment till probably the end.
Sorry, I had a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I started to say it before you raised your hand, but, so I'm not seeing where we have anything about working on updating the 2001 open space plan that we've talked about, and that we have a either ad hoc subcommittee for or a regular subcommittee for. Am I missing it somewhere?
The item that says review.
That's the open space plan implementation. I thought that was like what, the management of the open space that we already have.
No, that's the one above, the Brisbane Acres. So that's supposed to be the plan, like
Oh, okay.
what we did to modify it. That's done. I haven't given you a document yet, but other than that, it's done. So this is, what do we want to do to try to implement the rest of the plan?
Okay, and update different sections.
Mary?
So can we add the word update there?
Where would you add the word update?
And/or review and update open space plan. Oh. Well, implementation, that's weird.
How about and implementation?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, annually
Or
receive.
how about review open space plan updates and implementation?
Well, we have to, yeah.
Okay, so I will admit, I'm a little confused. What work do you think needs to get done this year?
I think that we need to move on to the next section of the open space plan. We did the acres, and we made we have made changes, and then we should take another section and review it and possibly update it. And that's what we had talked about at our last meeting that we were going to do, and we haven't had a meeting. It keeps getting pushed forward, so we do need to do that.
And the next section would be a different part of town?
Yes.
Like, okay.
A different part of the open space plan. Probably something like Peking Handicraft, Levinson, that area, or maybe also, some parts of the Baylands like Ice House Hill and stuff.
Okay.
So besides implementing and making sure that, reviewing the work that we've already done and making sure that we send out letters of people wanting to, maybe sell their acres to us now that we have several more that we can apply to purchase if they become available. But also, starting to review and update other sections of the plan that haven't been looked at since 2001. So I don't know how to word that exactly how you want it to make that clear, that we would,
I thought we were just going to replace review with update.
So I'm going to suggest that the word annual isn't really needed because it's our yearly work plan. And perhaps it would be continue updates and progress on open space plan and implementation.
Say it again.
Continue progress and updates on open space plan implementation.
yeah, continue progress and progress.
Or just continue updates.
Yeah, continue. Review, updates, review and updates on the open space plan. Can we say a 2001 open space plan, or do we want to just say open space plan? Will people know what we're referring to? Okay. And then does implementation seem weird there?
Yeah.
I would suggest adding an open space plan and implementation. I think it makes more
Yeah,
sense.
then and implementation.
Glenn. I like this. I'm ready to move on. Anyone? Okay, Glenn, what's your question?
Sorry, Glenn. I mean that to be a long question.
Before I say my piece, let me suggest review and update as necessary, and review open space plan and update as necessary. Plan and its implementation. Open space plan, comma. Okay, whatever. I think we all know what we want there.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask, and I'm not even sure this is the right place to do it, is this the right time to suggest adding something to the work plan?
It would be. One bit that I did not mention in our kind of introductory portion and review was that we have a few fairly meaty priorities, and we have these long-term policy issues area down here that we expect at least one of to come up this year, potentially more than one. So I think we were kind of anticipating that we may need to not have a long list of other or new items that we want to try to address, and rather just keep focused on a small number of things and be able to tackle these when they come up.
So
Understood, but
I had a similar plan. I know there's a lot of big meat here, and I didn't want us to, have a lot of kind of minutia that we had to do, which was one of the reasons we worked so hard to get the dark skies ordinance off our plate and do so much work on invasives. However, we could deprioritize something else if there's something more important that needs to be added to the list. So I really want to hear what your idea is.
so I'm not sure this is going to be hugely time consuming, and I think it partly depends on budget, but the trash around town is really driving me crazy. I guess I've been watching too many seal rescue videos from Ocean Conservation Namibia, which I recommend to all and sundry. But, the trash on the ground ends up in the ocean. It's that simple. And when it's there, it entangles marine animals and it degrades into tiny particles that marine animals eat. So I guess what I'm thinking about is something like some good posters with good visuals, like photographs of entangled animals to post at various cooperative, we hope. And most of the businesses in Brisbane have been pretty nice about posting stuff like that. Maybe having an exhibit of some sort at the community festival, things like that, just a public education plan, which is part of our mission. And I'd like to see us, instead of just exhorting people to pick up their trash, maybe try showing them what happens to trash that is discarded. I wonder if that might be more effective. Anyway, that was all.
I'm not sure your mic's on.
It actually seems right in line with stuff we do, and it seems more like an issue to be addressed rather than a thing to add to the work plan. I think you're right. This is, it's right in line with all of the education and outreach, and I don't see any reason we can't just even do it without putting it on the work plan, because it's already part of education and outreach.
I would absolutely agree, and was going to suggest similarly. I think at one point in time we had started to add some kind of things like that we wanted to focus the education and outreach on, and the list was just getting very long, and we decided to dial that back and say the committee has the purview to do education and outreach on any number of items. We don't need to list every one that we want to include on the work plan.
Got it. The reason I propose adding it to the work plan is that it would involve the expenditure of some money, and it would be kind of outside the education and outreach that we normally do.
What would you expect to be spending funds on? I mean,
Posters, exhibits of some kind, library maybe.
We have done that under our regular OSEC budget in the past. I mean, we've had the library display for a year, or I guess a couple of years now, and we didn't have that as, I mean, we do have library display on here as education and outreach already.
I'm talking about posters that could go in store windows, and they would, I have in mind a series of different posters so that, you know, people see various entangled creatures. If we don't add it to the work plan, you know, what can I say? But I would like us to do it.
I think Shauna's got a comment.
I was just thinking that as important as it is to get this out to the residents of Brisbane, the workforce in Brisbane is how many more times, and a lot of, I think the day trippers add to the pollution problems, and having some sort of focus over where, be it out on the point or out in Crocker, not Crocker
Industrial.
Yeah, making sure that they are included in this, and because they are part of the problem as well.
What a great idea. I guess I'm envisioning something a little more active than we usually do and a little more outreachy than we usually do. A lot of our education is a little bit passive. We tell people, here it is. And I suppose walking by and looking at a poster is still sort of passive, but I would like us to be more aggressive.
Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yeah, can I make
The whole
a
9 yards.
suggestion? Why don't we add another dot under education and outreach and put year-long focus on trash? So that it stays on our work plan and we know we're focused on it, and it becomes, like more important than bike to work day, for this year. And just so that it's there, or we just put it at the top, focus 2024 on trash, education around trash. And we just make it our year-long campaign to focus on management of trash.
I like it.
And it doesn't have to really, we just like Littman Science Fair, we'll talk about that. Day in the Park, we'll focus on the trash. Library display, we'll focus on the trash. Citywide publications, we'll do an article maybe every month or every other month on trash. Trash management.
What about rollout of the dark skies ordinance?
We'll do that too. That's important. But I think the dark skies ordinance is going to kind of somehow start doing itself, in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, we'll see. But
Okay, well.
I think that having it there, it puts it front and center that we're going to focus on it and satisfies the needs without putting another black dot on here. What do you think, Glenn? Would that work for you?
That would work, or we could kind of go with Shauna's idea, which is to put another dot on there that emphasized outreach to out-of-city workers, e.g. on trash.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's more consistent with the other bullet points.
I just have a comment. I kind of like the poster idea. I mean, I'd be willing to go to the businesses on Valley Drive in Crocker and then just, kind of push towards picking up your trash, because there's a lot of trash on the trail. And it all comes from people eating lunch, you could tell.
Yeah.
And no one picks it up.
And the same thing with, you see it from the school.
Yeah.
You see it, around town. You see people drop it out of their cars. You see it at the Fisherman's Park. You see it at the marina. So it really is becoming a big issue. I mean, I can't even believe it, how much, and, we don't have somebody that goes around and picks it up anymore the way that John Quilter used to do.
Yeah.
So
I do it casually, and I imagine everybody else does too, but yeah. The other part of that would be additional receptacles and making sure that the ones we have get emptied.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to go into any more details, but
Yeah.
I'd like to spend, a meeting on it if we could.
I do not love the bottom bullet because it becomes a out-of-towner issue. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, right? It's not the only people that speed on Bayshore are going through Brisbane and not those of us who live here. So I think we want to make sure that the outreach is at targeted areas as opposed to the local workforce.
It's so funny. I'll be coming up Bayshore and I'm like, that person's speeding. They're going to turn up and go up the back road. And they do. You know.
Okay. Never sped over. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Acceptable?
Yeah, I will admit, I think that our work plan can cover a variety of issues and we don't need to put this on it specifically. I would rather accept the work plan without this on it and just say in the minutes that we all agree that trash will be a priority this year. But we never know what's gonna happen, so that might change a priority, but I'm down with putting it on the record that this is a priority. This education and outreach is a list of events, right? It's not a focus area, and we're talking about spinning up something, and I feel like we should give it a dedicated time, like a meeting. I like the idea of adding a meeting to the schedule a lot more than putting it in our work plan.
I don't know, I kind of want it on the work plan, out of sight, out of mind. You know, it's a constant reminder that it's an issue and we should put some energy into it. I mean, I understand why you want to take it off, but personally for me, I would like to see it on the list so we don't forget and we do something about it. It's just a reminder.
If I might, we do have an education and outreach subcommittee
We do, we
that
do.
that both Mary and Glenn are currently
Yeah.
on, and we've been trying to schedule a meeting and haven't been able to. But this feels like the kind of thing that
Yeah.
subcommittee could work on and bring back, and would not require any particular changes to the work plan. It's already under your purview as the Education and Outreach Subcommittee and as OSEC to do education and outreach on any of these topics that are within your scope of responsibilities. It just feels to me, and I don't, maybe I'm reading a little too much into it, that it sounds like for Aaron as well, that there are any number of other things that we could also say are very high priorities. I would say we have a lot of outreach to do on dark skies. I don't think that's a given. I think we also need to do a lot of outreach on electric vehicles and building electrification and a lot of other similar topics. So
I mean,
wouldn't.
picking up trash is a quick win in my eyes, and it's an issue in town. So why would
If you want it there, we will put it there. I'm just telling you, I
mean,
don't
I'm
think it
just-
needs to be there in order to work on it because it's already under your purview.
And it does say, for example, on trash,
There you
which
go.
does not limit it
Yeah.
to trash.
Okay, EG, yes, okay. Cool, are we good?
Somebody in a motion?
Well, is there anything else on here? I can't see because
Oh,
it's
sorry.
up and down.
Got a
up and
long
down.
term.
Okay.
That's the end. What you can see at this point in time. I can go back to the top if you'd
Yeah,
like
could you
to
go back
see.
to the top?
Probably.
Could you please explain, consider reach codes and or other strategies to reduce emissions from buildings? Aren't we already doing that? Isn't that a part of our regular work?
It's going to most likely need to be a bigger and more concerted effort this year. I was going to mention this later, but the Berkeley ruling striking down their gas ban was let's see, hang on, let me take a step back. The Ninth Circuit Court denied Berkeley's request for an en banc hearing. So the decision of the panel last year that shot it down is now basically cemented. So we are likely going to need to do something about that
We'd hope to do
in terms of our existing ordinance, which is on the books and requires all electric buildings.
In other words, figure out some other strategies that will encourage electrification besides banning gas in new buildings.
Okay.
Do we want to add anything about transportation? Although I'm kind of damned if I know what we could do about that exactly, but
We already have a bunch of issues with transportation in terms of like all the electrification of vehicles that we've been working
Yeah.
on and everything like that. And some of the transportation issues are things that we're going to have a hard time addressing because they're outside of what we can really control or, you know.
well, one thing I suggested at one point, I don't remember where, was that we reach out to the South San Francisco shuttle because it goes to BART and it also operates all day, which our dedicated shuttle does not do. It goes to a different station. It goes to South City BART. But I was wondering if might be some way we could coordinate with them and maybe help put part of the bill to have their shuttle come up this direction and stop on Bayshore and then go back to South City. I don't know if that's even possible, but it's something we've never tried. So that, I guess, is the only specific suggestion that I have.
Maybe that would be something that the city staff would take on if it's a single item of that nature that would have to be worked out.
On the Complete Streets side, we had a presentation, it's been a few years, from is he the director, CEO of commute.org, John Ford, and he talked about how, I think that they even looked at adding a stop in the Ridge, and they get
Excuse me, Karen, for South City or for our shuttle?
our shuttle, but
Okay.
just as background. And they get most of their funding from grants. They have to compete for grants every whatever cycle it is. I don't remember that detail, but they struggle to stay afloat because they need each trip to cost less than X dollars. And we actually have the best usage coming into Brisbane for the daytime workers that maybe a lot of them come from San Francisco and take the shuttle, don't have a vehicle, whatever the case may be. But we don't have very many people using it the other way to go to BART and Caltrain. But they can't take on the commute.org Brisbane shuttles can't take on
Can't
any
take
more
on anything.
distance. It changes because during those commute hours, if they're not frequent enough, people won't use them. So I don't know. I wasn't familiar with the South San Francisco one, but I would think it would be a big challenge. And it's not cheap to operate those,
Yeah. No, I just thought it might be worth asking them and seeing if some arrangement might be possible because it is free. It does run all day. It goes up and down Grand Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, the public transportation is not really good enough in Brisbane to get a lot of people out. It's not convenient enough. The bus used to run through central Brisbane and it doesn't anymore. It's a long way to get to the routes. I agree. It's a head scratcher.
Well, I move we accept the Open Space and Ecology Committee work plan. Oh, as amended, sorry. Yes.
I second that.
Yes.
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 Very excited about the next item on the agenda.
Not hearing you.
Hi, why do I do that? I am very excited about the next item on the agenda. Glenn has drafted a letter regarding hiring of the new city manager. So I think Adrian's going to show that so we can read it.
I did have one thing I would love for us to add. I think it's an excellent letter, Glenn, and I really liked it a lot. The only thing I think that we could add, but I wouldn't want to delay this, would be about the importance of the quality of life in Brisbane. Because I have great concerns that the quarry development is going to severely impact the quality of life, not only for the people at the Northeast Ridge that live there, but also the people in central Brisbane with the 24/7 truck traffic and noise of that type of an operation. And so I think that it's important, and also with what will be happening on the Baylands and with the high-speed rail. I'm just looking at the quarry because that's the first one coming down the pike at us. And so I think it's important that we mention attention to quality of life issues.
Do you think where it's the second to last, so the last sentence in the second paragraph where it says, yeah, exactly where your arrow is, and that the safety and quality of life,
Yeah,
and then it should be Brisbane
yeah,
and the Baylands residents and employees.
yeah. Well, Baylands residents will be
Yep.
I was
Brisbane
going to
citizens.
suggest a different place for it,
Okay.
which would be in the, let's see, previous sentence
Okay.
that ends with the word ahead. It's right smack in the middle of the paragraph.
Yep.
So large development projects, how they are permitted and built, how a great deal to do with how Brisbane weathers climate-induced changes in the years ahead, and whether, and the preservation of its quality of life, of its high quality of life.
Let's see.
It seems to go with that
Large
sentence.
developments project land, how they were permitted on it.
One moment.
I would put comma, as well as the preservation of the quality of life of the citizens of Brisbane.
Okay, yeah, that works. After ahead, comma, as well as.
And I wouldn't even put high quality of life. I would just put quality of life because, high quality of life makes it sound privileged, whereas just quality of life.
What did you say?
How
Does
about
the
the
interview-
preservation of its quality of life?
Does the interview process provide any opportunity for groups such as a member from OSEC to interview? No? Okay.
No.
Any other suggestions or comments? I think it's an excellently written letter
Yes.
and a great thing for OSEC to be sending.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Certainly.
Could we get this to them as soon as possible since they're initiating their
I
search?
think you gotta nominate it.
I nominate that, I move that we get this letter to the Brisbane City Council as quickly as possible.
I second that.
As
Oh,
amended.
Sorry. Glenn?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Shauna?
Yep.
Mary?
Yes.
Sorry, Adrian. Oh, yes, and me as well. Adrian, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I was just going to note that this is a letter from the committee, so I believe it will be best if it comes directly from Aaron to the city council. If you would like me to send you this amended version, I can do that as soon as we end here, and you can send it at your earliest convenience.
And please note on the letter that it is from the whole committee.
From the committee, yes.
Yeah.
Just needs somebody to sign it. So
Yeah,
they do
but
the
not,
chair.
not that you're sending it as the chair, but that it's from the whole committee. Okay.
Yeah, on behalf of
on behalf of, yeah.
And third item of new business, a request to host San Bruno Mountain Celebration event in May.
You would think I'd know something about that, but I don't.
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce this.
Wait, was I supposed to?
It was your idea.
Yeah, I mean,
Consider requesting.
You
a
asked
San
for
Bruno
it.
Mountain- Oh, I asked if you would do it on Ariel asked for it. Oh,
yeah, but I don't know anything about it. I thought you would.
Okay. I have a little background.
Do you? Good, because
San Bruno Mountain Watch is organizing a variety of events in and around the mountain for the month of May in partnership with the San Mateo County Parks Department and other organizations. Parentheses, California Native Plant Society, Yerba Buena Chapter, etc. The aim is to raise awareness about the mountain's amazing ecology and history and highlight stewardship opportunities. There will be 2 Saturdays, May 11 and May 24, when programs will be offered to the general public. And then in parentheses, it's got themed hikes, volunteer events, art activities, etc. Might OSEC like to be among the groups hosting activities and events? For example, a community walk around the trail in Crocker Industrial Park, enjoying the views of the mountain, or other hikes that are connected to Brisbane trailheads. Other ideas, ? So I heard May 11 and 24 Saturdays.
And in conversation today about something that I can speak about more later in the agenda if need be, but I was discussing with Principal Planner Ayers the implementation of the dark sky ordinance, and there could be a potential nexus here. I know there were kind of at various times conversations about having events related to dark skies. So I don't know if there's a tie-in. Maybe there isn't. There doesn't have to be, but
mean
it's
like
something to
a night
consider.
hike?
Like a night hike.
We used to do full moon quarry walks.
I remember it was very fun.
Yeah.
So I looked up sunset on May 11th and 24th. It's not until like 8:09 or 8:20, but so it would have to be pretty late to have it actually be dark, but something to think about.
Okay. Yeah. When you read that, it certainly was familiar. I'm embarrassed. So I think it'd be great if we participated and, hosted a walk around the Crocker Trail, and also maybe there's a lot of ideas that we could do. Yeah.
He said Saturdays, so I think maybe I would assume the 25th, then if that was a typo. It said 2 Saturdays, 5/11 and 5/24.
If we were going to host a walk, I think it would be neat to do it in the trail that goes up Buckeye Canyon that covers the former slide, because I think that would capture a lot of interest from people in town. Because everybody and their brother went out to see the slide when it was fresh. And it's been very interesting to watch the plants come back and see what's come, what hasn't, what's invasive, what's native. Lots and lots of fungi, which may not be there by May, but I think that would be a better place to do it.
I haven't been up the trail, so I don't know the state of the trail. I have not been up the trail, so I don't know the state of the current trail.
It's pretty good, actually, until it gets steep,
enough
so,
to
but
get
just
that-
the
take that much.
bottom part of the trail, I think we could do.
Okay.
So I don't know that we have to pick a thing now, but it sounds like there is a lot of interest. Does this fit under an existing subcommittee?
Events?
Or should it be something that we come up with a list of items and we talk about them at the next meeting?
We do have an events subcommittee, so it feels like that could reasonably fit under that subcommittee's purview. But if the committee would prefer to do the latter, I think that would also be an acceptable option.
Because we have till May, I'm kind of thinking that saying yes to them seems like a good first step, but, it seems like we should think about it for a little bit more than 10 minutes
Good
and
idea.
get feedback from Jason and Barbara as well. So could we maybe put it on next month's agenda to discuss ideas, or would you guys like to just send it straight to the outreach committee?
Well, do you think we should have there's different committees. One is the events committee, that's not the outreach committee.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And so is this something maybe we should form a temporary ad hoc subcommittee?
I would think just use the existing events subcommittee for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know off the top of my head who's on the events subcommittee. I can jump ahead.
I know I still am,
Mary
and Mary
and Jason.
and Jason. That's why I was thinking of maybe a temporary subcommittee, because it sounds like Glenn wants to be involved on that, or not, or, and I didn't know about Shauna, and I didn't, and I could be involved from the San Bruno Mountain Watch side,
Glenn,
but
she's got her hand up.
I think this whole committee should come up with ideas at the next meeting, as you suggested. Then we turn it over to the events committee to kind of carry them out and implement.
I agree.
okay.
All right.
This is, we're still in January, February. Okay, that's a good idea. I could go for that.
Okay. So can we add, oh, wait. I can make a motion as the chair, right? Can I make a,
Do we need a motion?
You don't need a motion to add something to the agenda.
No.
Okay,
As the
sweet.
chair.
Yeah.
And I mean,
let's pick it
Yeah.
back up next month.
But can
We'll
we
call it old business.
Yeah, but can you send out can you send out an email to the entire committee soliciting ideas around this, so that they come prepared with, everybody comes prepared with solid ideas to discuss at the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, and then we have, San Bruno Mountain Watch has their annual board retreat this Sunday, so I can bring it up there and ask if there are specific things that San Bruno Mountain Watch is looking for support with that I can bring back to us.
That seems very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. I hope I don't forget.
I don't know if it matters, but May 12th, Sunday is Mother's Day.
That's right.
It's good,
But it's May 11th.
Right.
Yes.
So
Okay.
could go either way.
Okay. But it's also
is the other
events for the
Saturday
whole month.
Memorial Day weekend, or is it the weekend before?
Memorial.
Memorial Day is the
It's the 27th.
24th.
Oh,
sorry, the 27th.
yeah.
Good call.
So it's that weekend.
I would vote we do something on the 11th.
Yeah. I guess we should also find out, because he said the whole month of May in that? Okay.
He did. So are they looking for things on other days too, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. He only put those 2 days in. In full disclosure, I just look at my calendar. I'm not available on May 11, but
Or what?
I'm not available on May 11, but I'll help them
Yeah.
even if
I'm
I
gone
can't
the
attend.
weekend right in between.
Yeah.
Okay, well, May is a nice long month with lots of days and with lots of daylight, so we could also have a late afternoon activity.
We could go pick up trash.
Yeah, we could go pick up trash.
As long as
Okay.
You got grabbers for everybody.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Very good. Next is staff updates.
I've got a few, and I moved away from the email from Teresa that I had lots of notes for you on. There we go. Okay, so there was a question asked at our December meeting with as part of Teresa's presentation, how many notices have been left during lid flipping. And Teresa reported that they looked inside a total of 869 collection carts and bins, left 156 courtesy notices for minimal contamination, and 65 non-collection notices for substantial contamination. So that translates to a sampling rate of almost 18%, and it
Wow.
means that about 7.5% of the carts and bins sampled had significant contamination. Not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
Those were her words too. Not bad. She also, I believe Glenn had asked about black walnuts. She
did.
researched black walnuts and she said she believes they are best placed in the garbage. If the finished product was a mulch meant to prohibit plant growth, they'd be okay. But the material we collect is transformed into compost for growing fruit and vegetables, and black walnuts could potentially be a problem for that. And then there were also some questions about e-waste pickups or events for other kinds of challenging waste streams. And Teresa and I actually met last week to discuss some ideas. So nothing is set in stone yet, but we are looking into how we can potentially have something to offer the community on some of those other more challenging waste streams. One of the ideas that we think is potentially promising is hosting maybe one in the spring, one in the fall, drop off at farmer's market possibly, or
Ooh, that's a
some
good
other
idea.
kind of event. She felt that film plastic is something that she would very easily be able to accommodate. We could potentially look into doing something with towels and blankets and taking them to the SPCA. Other things that we might consider would be e-waste or textiles, but Teresa's going to need to do some digging into where we would actually send them. So those are some of the ideas that we started discussing, and she needed to do a little bit more homework, and we'll keep that conversation going. But the hope would be to potentially do one in April, at a farmer's market in April since Earth Month, and then maybe one like September, October. Yeah. Fine.
Just wondering why the post office no longer allows us to have the plastic bag depository, which I used a lot, was very handy. Was there a reason?
There was a very long saga about that. How
Oh.
long ago was that? Erin, you're smiling. A couple years, almost
Probably a year and a half ago.
a year and a half ago. I don't know if I remember all of the ins and outs of it, but basically the post office collection bin, according to postal staff, was for people who were getting things out of like post office boxes and things that were in the mail, and was not meant for a public collection spot. And Scavenger does not actually have the ability currently to take that and get it into recycling markets. They have to have like a large bale to be able to maybe get one bale out and have it actually go to recycling. And they were just not willing to have a collection point that they picked up that then they turned around and threw in the trash. Seemed
Got it.
disingenuous.
I feel like I could put a whole bale together from my kitchen.
So the thought is if we do it at, biannual events for the community, the quantity at one time might be sufficient for them to actually be able to handle and market. They have very limited space in their facility to be able to hold things for a long period of time until they get a sufficient quantity. So if they can do it in one shot, she seemed to be more comfortable with that idea and more likely that they can handle it and get it actually recycled rather than just collecting it all and then turning around and sending it to the landfill.
Doesn't it have to be clean, though?
It has to be, it will have to have some very specific instructions on what is collected. And yeah, clean is part of it. But there's also various different kinds, and it has to be like, yeah.
Go ahead, Glenn.
You next time you talk to her, you might want to bring up an outfit called, I believe it's called Madewell, which
Ridwell.
Madewell.
No,
or
Madewell's a
Ridwell.
clothing company. Ridwell, I think, is who you're talking about.
Ridwell, yeah,
They've come up. There are some concerns.
I figured.
Yeah. We can have more discussion about that offline if you would like, but yeah, they have come up and there are some concerns about.
I have not signed up because I just don't generate that much trash, but I was thinking for a community, maybe it would work, but it doesn't sound like it.
I wouldn't be inclined to go down that road at this point in time. Most of the things that they are actually able to get rid of, by my understanding, with only minimal research as my disclaimer, but based on what Teresa tells me, most of the items that they are collecting and able to get rid of, Scavenger could too. And as our franchised hauler, if we were to employ a company like that on a citywide basis, we should not do it in such a way that prevented them or others from being able to compete for that business. And Scavenger can do that for us and is willing to work with us on these kinds of events. So I think that's, at this point in time, a better route for us to go.
I was going to suggest that since we've been doing the roller coaster of plastic, and also because San Francisco does it so differently, they just throw their film plastic in their recycling bin, which is very odd when you go there. You're just like, oh, no, don't do that. I feel like April might be a good time for e-waste and education about the next one, which would have film plastic and what those film plastics can be and can't be.
That's not a bad idea. I didn't actually have this on my list, but you brought up a very interesting point that I was on a webinar earlier this week, about SB 54, I think it is, if I'm getting that right. It's still in the kind of draft regulation stages, but basically it's going to have a really significant impact on the recycling and composting landscape across the state and do a lot to standardize what is being recycled and composted. Basically, if an item makes it onto the list as deemed to be recyclable or compostable in the state, every community will have to take it for recycling or composting.
Oh, wow.
So there are some interesting things of what's on the list and what's not on the list right now, and that seems like it could be it could be problematic in certain ways, but also it could really help with standardization across communities, which certainly has a lot of benefits. So anyway, more to come on that, and it will be a very long rollout, but has maybe some promise. Was there a question on that? Okay.
Interesting.
Anyway, we went down a little bit of a trash rabbit hole there, but had some good things there. A couple other things. So I've already mentioned the Berkeley ruling. We got a notice from SunShare's staff about the 2023 campaign totals. So across the region, there were a total of 424 kilowatts of solar and 74 batteries with a total of 1,028 kilowatt hours of storage, part of the program. And from our outreach, we had 5 signups and 1 contract for 16 kilowatt hours of energy storage. So, a little bit, every little bit helps, I guess. I am hearing, after a conversation last fall that was actually generated by resident Prem Lal, that the County Office of Sustainability and their partners at Fix-It Clinics and the San Mateo County Libraries and our own library manager are in discussion to potentially bring a Fix-It Clinic to Brisbane.
Oh, fabulous.
That's basically the extent of all I have right now, but more to come on that, I'm sure, in the future. I have One thing that came into my inbox today that I thought, this sounds like something folks will be interested in. So the regional or the county weed management area that I have been participating in sent an email highlighting a couple of upcoming events. One is that the San Mateo County Parks Department will be hosting a public meeting to describe their approach to IPM, Integrated Pest Management, in a webinar on January 31st at 7 p.m. on Zoom called Achieving Healthy Ecosystems in San Mateo County Parks. And then on February 15th, the Santa Clara County Weed Management Area is hosting a workshop on, I'm going to totally butcher that plant name, stinkwort. Maybe Shauna knows it and can say it. Detrichia graviolens? Anyway, stinkwort. They're going to have a meeting on stinkwort biology control and monitoring techniques. So if you're really into that, that's coming up. And then Cal IPSI is having a free herbicide calibration training on March 5th, 14th, which is probably not so much for this group. And then lastly, Natural Resources Conservation Service and Working Lands for Wildlife is having a Defending and Growing the Core by Breaking the Annual Cycle of Grass Invasion event on April 3rd. If anybody has interest in any of those, let me know and I'll just forward this email, or I can forward it to the whole subcommittee. Shauna,
I think it's Detrichia.
Maybe.
Detrichia graviolens.
That sounds right. I told you I would butcher it if I tried.
Dinkwort.
Stinkwort.
Do we have it? Is it around here?
It's a common invasive plant in disturbed areas, so probably.
Okay.
And then lastly, what is this? So the County Office of Sustainability has had a 3-year contract with a couple of providers for education and outreach for the Foodware Aware campaign. That is coming to a close, but they shared some results of that campaign and let us know that they are going to continue to provide the outreach for the Foodware Aware program for another 2 years. So we are very grateful for them for taking that on. Across the county, they have attempted to contact over 3,000 food facilities affected by the ordinance, spoke with the owner or decision maker of almost 2,000 food facilities, provided technical assistance to help over 400 food facilities come into compliance, signed up over 120 food facilities to participate in Rethink Disposables reusable foodware program, and responded to over 80 public complaints, in addition to a big vendor expo that they did with dozens of foodware providers and providing a bunch of resources like on the county website and a compliant foodware purchasing guide. So that seems to have been pretty successful so far, but I know in my dining out around the county, I still see a lot of stuff out there that is non-compliant. So I think we still have a very long way to go. And I think that does it. I had a lot this month. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I did not. Yes, it was supposed to be. I thought I didn't need it on the list because it would be obvious. I told some of you on your way in, but maybe not everybody heard. There's some clothes here in the room that you might have wondered about if you haven't already heard. Last year and this year, in advance of the Mothers of Brisbane or MOB swap event, we have held clothing swaps for city staff. So these are the unclaimed as of yet clothes that city staff brought in. And if they're not claimed by anyone in the building by Friday morning, Angel and I will be taking them to the MOB shop to donate, and encourage you to also make your donations to the MOB shop and get up there for some keep clothing out of the landfill and fill your closet with cheap reused things. Yes, if you would like to peruse before you leave the building this evening, no one's stopping you. That's it. Thank you.
I believe that the festival trees are gonna be planted in the next month or so, within the next month or so. I heard that. That's my update.
Yes, I heard that. Let's make sure we plant them in the right place, not too close to the sidewalk.
Have we, because you were growing them out, do you have pictures of them? Or,
I don't. What I understand is that the new Buildings and Grounds team leader, you might have heard from, I don't remember his last name, Dylan, that you're acquainted with, asked Arborwell for a proposal and said, if you can find larger trees than the ones we have, you can plant those. I think ours are, you know, I don't know, 3 feet
Yeah.
tall, or they're not,
petite?
yeah, they're petite. They're petite. It'd be a long time before they're ready to go into duty as a festival tree. So we looked at the locations together with the Park and Rec Department so that they can continue to have the event with their other tree for a number of years. They're gonna keep their tree right at the curve, and
But isn't that where those trees were going to go? Some of those trees going to go there in that space?
I think that what I understand is that one that, if I describe it, to the east, mostly to the east, one of the existing trees in the planted area is an acacia that's probably going to come out. So there's room for our 3 and for them to still use the corner, basically.
I just don't want to make the same mistakes we made last time.
Yeah, they can have up to a 30-foot crown, the Doug firs. So they're going to overlap a little bit. I think is the plan to have like a 25-foot radius for each tree, which takes all of that space that's there pretty much.
Yeah. We just don't want them over the sidewalk, you know, we don't want to have to prune them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that it? Okay. Subcommittee reports. Starting with events.
Well, I mentioned it earlier, but February 3rd, there is a Habitat Restoration Day that is co-sponsored or co-supported by the City of Brisbane, Open Space and Ecology, Park and Recs, San Bruno Mountain Watch, Ecology. Sign up on mountainwatch.org. It should be a really fun and great day to do that.
Where is it?
It will be up at where we were last time.
On the ridge?
On the ridge above Viewpoint. Like, I think it's going to be on the corner of Rock Ridge and
Checker spot, maybe?
Checker Spot. Yeah.
Perfect. Yep.
Checker spot and rock run.
And Rock Ren. Right. Okay.
Education and outreach.
We need to meet.
Yep, we need to meet. Yes.
We do, but I need meeting dates or responses to emails about meeting date availability.
Okay. Okay.
I think all the ones that I had suggested have now passed, so
Oh, okay. All right.
maybe swing by after if you both have a
Yes.
minute in the calendar.
Yes.
Thanks.
Moving on. Building decarb.
We haven't met either. We were supposed to meet on Monday, and I showed up. I think you showed up, didn't you? You sent an email right at
the
meeting time.
email was, oh no. So Adrian canceled the meeting
Right.
the week before.
And I didn't know that because I hadn't looked at my email. I just put it on my calendar and showed up.
Okay, sorry about that. The Berkeley decision, I feel like staff is still trying to figure out what we're gonna do in light of that.
We also need to, or I would like to discuss the idea of a whole block energy system. Adrian and I exchanged articles about this. There's been an experiment with one in Oakland, and I think it might work in Brisbane because this is a pretty tight community. So we can discuss that too. I would like to.
Yeah, I wanted to get have some more discussion internally with other staff,
Oh.
including our legal staff, about what our path forward is on that front. So we have a kind of good sense of what the various avenues we want to pursue are. I think the eco-block kind of approach is very interesting. But my understanding is that Oakland has been working on that for some dozen years or so and is still not really there. So, we have to anticipate that it's going to be a pretty significant long-term effort and figure out what our priorities and whatnot are going to be.
Comes under the heavy lift.
Yes.
Do you know if everybody has seen that article? I sent it to you. I don't know if you sent it to the other members. Might be a good idea.
Subcommittee? I think it was included in that long list wasn't it included in that long list that I sent out? We had the meeting in December, and then before that meeting in December, we have met actually since the last time OSEC met, because it was shortly after the last OSEC meeting that the subcommittee met. And I think it was included in those resources.
I think it was too, but it might be helpful to resend it if you wouldn't mind.
Is the Baylands doing something like that? I mean, their own, is the Baylands doing something like that? It seems like a really good idea for new construction in new neighborhoods and possibly a little harder to implement for, 19.
This is an
30.
existing neighborhood in Oakland that's doing it, and it's a pretty impressive plan, but you should read the article because it's pretty complicated to explain. And, maybe it's a non-starter for Brisbane, but I thought, when I read it, I thought, if it would work anywhere, it might work here.
I don't know whether, I know you guys can't exceed the quorums, but I'd love to tell this subcommittee the trials and tribulations of trying to electrify my 1934 Brisbane home and why I now have to replace both my stove and my oven and my wall heater with gas. Despite the fact that I've been trying to upgrade, I can't upgrade my panels. No, any rate, it's like a 3-year struggle. And if I can't do it, and I really want to do it, if it's not easy, it's not going to get done by people who aren't. And this could have been such an easy thing to do.
You're not the only person in Brisbane who's had real problems trying to do the right thing. And I've talked to Colleen about this. She's my next door neighbor, and she and her partner just had their whole house done, everything, solar panels, water heater, heat pump, air heat pump. They haven't done the kitchen yet. Mm-hmm. And I've been kind of nagging Colleen about writing up her experience and talking about what she did. I'll nag her some more, but I think it might be a good idea for us to host some kind of event talking about that for people who are interested, talking about some of the obstacles and what you can do about them. So maybe our subcommittee could discuss that.
It almost feels like we should get one of the experts in from one of your contacts at, I don't know who it would be, PCE or someone. Maybe the Electrify America folks.
Colleen is the city's representative to PCE, so she's in a really good position to do double duty because she's on PCE and she's done her house.
Yeah, there are lots of options. I mean, we did have the when was that? Last September or something? September, October, had the folks someone from PCE and someone from Quit Carbon here. I don't know, Shauna, if you were able to connect with them, if they were able to give you recommendations.
And the whole process starts with PG&E approving variances for the way a panel is upgraded because of the way some of our little houses hang on the side of the hill, and PG&E is unwilling or unable to do this in a timely fashion. I've had 5 electricians start the process and disappear into the ether. because PG&E won't or can't do it. I don't know. So it's just like, it's mind-blowing.
In response to a question from me to Colleen, she said, have this person call me. So I'm going to tell you the same thing.
Oh,
Call her up and see if she has any advice to give, because they had to get PG&E certification too.
yeah.
Okay. Moving on, the open space plan update.
Still waiting for a meeting, Karen.
Yeah, I told, maybe you weren't in the room, I told Mary I did not get to it, but my calendar has kind of opened up, so
Okay, my calendar has too.
that's right.
Crocker Trail Frog Habitat.
No
It's
updates.
still flooding over there.
Yeah.
Pretty
I have an
badly, but-
update on that. Staff, utility engineer, and myself went out and met with Paul Buscal because he's been maintaining that natural part of the channel. And, well, we first met as a staff with a bunch of people, the inspector, the utility maintenance team leader, and looked at possible solutions. And that area really isn't trying to drain anywhere. There's some existing drainage. There's a pipe that connects the natural to the concrete channel that's plugged, and all of the water from beyond there is getting out on Cypress, went into a storm drain on Cypress. So that is kind of its own little problem area. And we could create like an overflow that would get the water to the concrete channel, but it would take equipment. So we came up with the idea of possibly a swale, something really simple on the surface that would slowly trickle that water away from the channel, because it's overflowing the channel and getting onto the trail, right?
Yeah,
The natural channel.
yeah.
And we don't want to put equipment in there because you planted native plants and there are, frogs and tadpoles almost all year round. So we asked Paul Buscal if he could dig. We didn't know that he'd had surgery and isn't that mobile right now, but when we first made contact, dig a swale to get it to the concrete channel. So he came up with kind of an idea that, now what happened? I just talked to him yesterday. The original plan didn't work, but he said he had someone to help him actually open up the pipe that connects the two a little bit, and some of the water is going to the concrete channel. You want it to go slowly because you don't want it to drain the natural channel too fast. And he said it was going slowly and he hadn't been out to recheck, but possibly we figured out a way that with some regular maintenance, that water would move and allow the channel to hold water, but not too much and not too little. So that's positive. I haven't gone out to see it yet because I didn't know if the work had been done.
I have some lovely videos of the frogs just chirping their little hearts out. If anybody else wants to see them, I'll send them through the
Yeah,
system.
I heard it.
They
I
were-
heard your video and I heard it too.
There's a couple that really like to hang out in the tunnel where they can make extra big loud noises. They're like, that's a very large frog.
He told me, he likes to talk about the area and the background and all of that every time you meet with him. And he told me that he had an understanding with with the city, I guess, with the public works director, to maintain the natural channel and not do anything with the concrete channel. I guess when it was put in for the building to be able to have enough drainage for their, so that they're not, because they're sitting on marsh or whatever, that their water drains out. So he's focused on that natural part of the channel. So I don't know if the committee is in agreement with that being the area that's maintained as the frog habitat, or where we are.
Well, there's frogs there's tadpoles and frogs all the way down there.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I think that Paul has stayed away from the concrete channel because what happened in the past where they told us we couldn't, Mountain Watch couldn't do anything there at all. And so but in our discussions, when I was on the frog group, we had determined that we were going to start working the concrete channel as well to get that in better shape. But Paul's not doing that. He's been doing the natural channel part.
Right,
Yeah. But we need to start working on the other part of the channel. And we were waiting for the report, which we finally got. So I'm not sure what the next steps are there, but kind of interested in that.
Yeah, and Jason isn't here, but I guess he's kind of
He's very,
working with Paul now.
he's very interested in that whole
Yeah, good, good,
Engaged
good,
in.
good.
All right, I can still ask if, that's why I was kind of bringing it up. I could still ask if we can, I think the idea was to have a plan, which kind of the report is based loosely our plan, and then talk to the property manager about us being able to have volunteer events. All right.
Moving on to invasive species. I think we need a meeting.
Yeah, apologies on this one. I think I told you last month, I drafted an email, and I had some communication with, legal counsel. So we have the city attorney that comes to council meetings, and the other one, his title is legal counsel. And I referenced the nuisance abatement ordinance, and then he referenced, like I said last month, the fire code, and that has the fire prevention officer making contact. So I followed up about that, because it doesn't make sense for the fire prevention officer to be managing this part of invasive species or making those contacts. And he said, oh, that could be rewritten. Then it was the holidays, and I took a little vacation before the holidays, then there was the holidays, and then he took like an extended vacation. He just came back on the 20th of January.
Oh, wow.
So, ready to get that going. I think I should try to, and I said I just freed up some time, so work with him to see what his language is, and then share it with you guys in a meeting.
Love that.
Okay.
Dark skies. So the exciting news is that council really liked the dark skies ordinance. They had a very few number of track changes during their December meeting. Adrian implemented those. It was part of the, what did they call that again? Consent vote at their January meeting. It has been approved. It goes into effect on March 1st. So we're very excited to have that part of the dark skies ordinance off our plate. I think we should still meet soon in order to talk about outreach. And then at some point, we should pass the baton to the education and outreach group. But I think in the beginning, we should probably start with the, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
So I'm going to advocate that we also have a meeting to get that going.
Sure.
Anything else on that? Sorry, I dominated that one.
No, that was good.
Good. Tree issues.
Well, Barbara's not here, but we are going to be trained on the new tree software.
Did we get a date on that?
No, we don't have a date yet. Adrian. So, and apparently the company doesn't want to do a public meeting. So they won't be training us in a public meeting. So I guess we're going to get trained in a subcommittee meeting, and then we'll have a tape, and then everybody on this committee will do the tape. I'd wanted everybody on the committee, like maybe have a workshop and just for the committee and not have it be a televised thing or record, but that I still hope you could ask them about that, if that would work.
Is
But
it possible-
otherwise, you'll get it secondhand.
Could we have a meeting that is not televised but open to the public?
If it was a workshop, like what the council does, I think we can.
I thought they didn't want to do public either.
Because
Yeah.
I understand why they might not want it televised if they have competition.
Right, I agree.
So it's perhaps they'd be more interested if it was, people, residents, and in a smaller setting.
Yeah.
It's worth asking.
So can we do that?
She's checking the emails. I had thought they did not want to do a public, regardless if it
Well,
was
let's
televised.
check that. And then the other thing, I am still very concerned about the death of a lot of trees, especially out at the marina. But I don't think it's all just saltwater intrusion. I do think we might be having some other issues there. But I did learn that during our water conservation period, they were told to turn off the irrigation for the grass, but they turned off all the irrigation
Oh.
in both Crocker Park and out at the marina. So I don't know what the current status of that is, but I guess it's because it's winter. But that tree irrigation should never be turned off. Yeah, well, yeah, when it's pouring rain, but in general, so that was distressing. But I'm seeing some tree death out there that is not close enough to the edge of the water to be saltwater intrusion. So I'm concerned.
There's a lot of, I've been walking out there in the mornings, and there's a lot of punky trees out there.
Yeah, and
And-
trees.
And trees that have, well, when you look at their bark blowing off, they've already failed.
Yeah.
And they're just standing skeletons.
Yeah, we have a
waiting to
serious
fall
tree
over.
issue out at Sierra Point Marina.
Kind of upsetting.
So we do need to look at that and see what we can do. And then I also think that it's time for us to really take a good look at, we need to have a nice long tree issues meeting, maybe where we can really work through some of these different issues that we're seeing with the trees, but and how we're going to approach tree health going forward, and where we're going to focus our efforts. So
Yeah, I think so.
that's about where
Makes
we're at.
sense
But
to have that inventory.
pardon?
Have the inventory done to have that meeting. That would be really informational and,
Yeah, do we have the inventory?
no, they haven't
Are they
started.
have they started it? No.
No, so the inventory is currently slated to be performed in late April and or May.
Okay.
We expect to have it by, I requested June 1st so that we can complete it this fiscal year, since that's when we had the funding for. So that's the deadline they're working off of. And yeah, that is the latest. I think they just gave us that update on timing like a week or so ago. As to the training, I did go back to that email to find specifically how they responded to our request, and they said basically what we are operating under is the complimentary onboarding training that they offer as part of what we already purchased from them, what we have already used effectively all of the amount budgeted for this line item on. And they said it was determined that our request falls outside of that scope of what they normally would offer for that complimentary onboarding training. So a public forum attendance was viewed as a public speaking event over an onboarding/orientation and would fall under a separate hourly rate. So basically, we would have to pay extra for that. So they were willing to have the subcommittee and have a subcommittee meeting to do the training with the full subcommittee and record it that we can share with the rest of the committee. But to have a full committee meeting, whether or not it is televised, would require us to be open to the public, and that would be a public speaking event in their view. So I think my suggestion would be the best option is I can send out the links and the online guidance materials to the full committee, and everyone would have the opportunity at your own time to go look at that. And if you have any specific questions, to send them to staff and or members of the subcommittee for us to ask when we do that subcommittee training, so that they can be included in that video. But I think that's probably the best we can do at this point in time.
Okay, so let's get that going. Sooner's better. I'd love to have that so that we know that by the time they start the tree inventory.
If it ends up being that one person, say it ends up being scheduled so that
it's impossible for me to attend it, would it be possible to, like, say, have Erin attend it in my place? Or, you know, it just seems like we have, every time somebody's can't do it, but we should really get it done. And
Yeah.
as long as it's not more than our quorum, you know, if there's somebody that absolutely can't make it for that one, could we sub in somebody else who's on OSEC? Just so that we have our full 3 people. I mean, everybody expressed interest in being at that training, so. No. Oh. And I know Jason really wanted to attend it as well, so it's just like, I know it's just a random thought, but.
I think we can probably deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
Just, you know.
And then I would just like to say that it looks like we might want to be starting to read those chapters if you haven't already read all your thousands of pages under the Baylands specific plans in the spring. Yeah. And if we can't, I mean, I'd like to schedule a tree meeting soon also, just to kind of go over what we want to do.
Given that we expect that in the spring, I'd say we should probably. Oh, no, it's on.
No, it's not.
Oh, no, it's not. I saw green. It wasn't lit up, sorry. Given that those are coming in the spring, we should probably all try to open our calendars up for the other ad hoc subcommittees, because I have a feeling that once the Bayland stuff starts coming, we're not gonna have time for much else.
Yeah, I think
Which
the
is why
quarry,
we were trying to keep the work plan kind of thin this year.
yeah, but I think the quarry stuff's going to come first.
Oh,
I don't know. I just get that feeling. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's take care of the fun stuff as soon as we can.
Anything else?
I have a comment or an FYI. I don't know
Is
if
that
oops.
related to a subcommittee, or should it be a chair
No,
and
it's-
committee
no, it's
item?
after, yeah, sorry, I
Okay.
thought we were done with
sorry.
subcommittees.
Calendar items.
We've already mentioned the planting day a couple times. That's the next thing coming up. We may or may not have invasive species ordinance on our agenda next month. Not sure there's a whole lot else on here that has changed from last month or that is really notable or pertinent in the near term. Any questions on anything?
Well, we could add May now for events. In
Yes.
addition to, for San Bruno Mountain Celebration.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we want to add trash as an OSEC meeting key topic? Litter reduction, I guess?
Yeah.
And it can just be a discussion of how we want to deal with it. And then moving on to chair and committee member matters. Mary?
Oh, the trail, Crocker Trail. So I know a few folks here walk it. The new trail, some of it is starting to erode already. Really badly.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm afraid, it's going to cave in. I mean, you can walk on the edges. There's one area I walked on the edge and I'm like, oh my God, my foot went down. I mean, some of the stuff came loose. I'm like, this isn't good. We just spent over, $1 million on that thing. So I don't know if whoever did it will come back after the rains and fill it back in. I think some of the grading is not the best.
Did you get
It also
pictures?
seems like some of the spots were, what's coming off of the roof, off the buildings, is all sort of focused in one area, and then it's just headed straight to the edge. And, I spent a little bit of time wandering around with my boots looking at
water things. At one point along there, they put like big sort of ornamental boulders to keep people from driving on there, and where the water comes and where the boulders are, it's causing all this swirling, and it's washing out the thing and making the problem worse. And there seems to be, like, they weren't connected to the swales, and you know, there's a lot of issues over there.
Yeah.
This sounds bad.
Did you get any pictures?
I actually took a couple, I'll show you, Karen, after.
Oh, I've seen it. I've been out there. I don't need
Where I
to see anymore.
thought,
I've seen it. I've been out there.
Yeah, I saw I didn't send another request because I saw the Brisbane sign, you know, the maintenance signs out there, and I was like, well, I guess they know what's going on out here, but.
So what
Yeah.
is going on?
Well, you know, the plan didn't include really doing anything with the drainage, so some of the problem is that with the last storms, some sediment is in the drainage ways. Some of it is that, you know, we thought building it up and crowning it, the water would flow to the sides. In some cases, it's not. So the plan is where it's severely eroded, we may put a different kind of rock in there, or maybe cement treat small areas. But we do want it to percolate there, and not to the extent that it does, and not be concentrated and run off like it's doing. So in some cases, we're going to add a swale back, kind of cut a little bit of a swale. In some cases, we're going to redirect the water. In some cases, we're going to, you know, shore up if it's a particularly bad area, because some of it's little rivulets and some of it's bigger, you know. But we can't go out there and do that while there's water on it. So it probably won't happen until March or something.
And some of it's on this side over by the buildings, and then the area that got washed out during big flood last year, you know, where there's that channel gets blocked behind the berry bushes. We kind of thought about maybe we should clear out that channel. Well, that didn't happen, and exactly those spots where the water can't get down the channel, and it's all coming down from the school, from the upper road. It's pooling and it's coming across the thing, and it's washing it out too. So I mean, it's you know, it's exactly in the areas that we were kind of that I kind of pointed out that might be an issue before they did the work. Anyway, I don't know what else to say.
Very aware of the problem.
Anything else? No. All right, next meeting, February 28th. That's it. We're adjourned. Bam.
Bam, bam.
Bam, bam. Thank you.